It's time for the Alien Conspiracy Podcast. We are your hosts, Agent ETA
and Agent Anderson. Come along as we examine UFO sightings, conspiracies, and all things strange. You can follow the show on Twitter at AlienConPod. We also have an email address, alienconpod@protonmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to check out all of our other wonderful links in the description on the Linktree. This week's episode, Obscure Cryptids. As chosen by our Patreon subscribers, we have 3 tiers for you to choose from. The first tier will get you after hours and early access. The next tier gets you bonus episodes, and the final tier allows you to vote on upcoming topics. This week, we are going to do, for the bonus episode, I haven't recorded it yet, actually, which is horrible because it's Friday, but it'll be out next week anyways. I want to do Special Report 14 from Project Blue Book. It was the largest statistical analysis that they ever completed, and it's available online through the Black Vault and other places. So I wanted to take, a look at, peruse that a little bit. I'm not going to read through it front to back because I think it's over 300 pages, but I might read through like the introduction and a little bit of it, and then just sort of go over what they did with the report, the statistics that they compiled and all that stuff. It's quite an interesting study, and I think it'll be a good one to talk about. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll probably record that tomorrow and then have it out early next week. All right, but this time we're doing Obscure Cryptids. There are so many of these things. If you're just like a bitch-ass casual, when it comes to cryptids, I pretty much am. I don't really read about these things all that often. You hear about Bigfoot, you hear about the Loch Ness Monster, and then depending on your region, you might hear about the skunk ape or whatever, wherever you live, And that's pretty much it. But if you look around, there's actually dozens, if not hundreds, of these. There's so many of these things. Obscure cryptids.
One of the things that really kind of strikes me as like a common theme, I guess you could say, if even that, but like everywhere you go, no matter what continent you're on, like there's always stories of cryptids. They're always present and around. It's a very common thing for a culture to have descriptions of a quote unquote cryptid creature, an animal that hasn't been caught, hasn't been hasn't been damn, I'm brain farting here. Sorry.
Edit.
Edit. Yeah, they haven't been, investigated very thoroughly. Some of them have, but some of them haven't. They're just like creatures that are known of, and a lot of people may, say that they have seen it or experienced a cryptid, but like there isn't much evidence for the majority of them. They're just stories, for the most part. So there is some evidence for some of them, but like it's one of those things. It's like wild tales that are present around the entire world. They're always there though.
There are actually quite a few, what you may refer to as former cryptids, things that were once considered to be cryptids and are no longer. Maybe I'll do, actually, next week I kind of want to do a bonus episode talking about some of these. There's a bunch. I could probably do easily 2 or 3 episodes on these, but there's things on here like the African peacock, or the Australian snubfin dolphin, or the Montauk monster, or the Newfoundland blob, or okapi, the platypus, the devil bird, discovery of the Yeti. I want to check that article out. That sounds interesting because I don't know about Yetis, man. There's the Yeti crab. I'm going to talk about the Yeti crab today.
Really?
There's the Grigston cow. That sounds interesting. Hogzilla, the Indonesian Coelacanth. Coelacanth? I don't even know how to say that. There's a ton of these things here. A ton of these suckers. So I'm going to go. There's not nearly as many of these as there are Mike the Headless Chicken. What the hell? What is that? I don't know.
What?
Yeah, that's one of. Okay, so there's a few of these things, man, that used to be considered cryptids, and they turned out to be real. One that's not on here that I'm pretty sure used to be considered a cryptid was the panda bear. You know, people heard tale of the panda bear, Europeans anyways, people living in China or wherever they had
Yeah.
them. I think it's just China. People in China obviously knew it was real, but people in Europe heard the stories of this big giant teddy bear that ate trees, and they probably thought it was complete nonsense until they had firsthand evidence that it was real. They're like, oh shit, this thing's real. There really is
Yeah.
a big giant teddy bear that eats trees, or, you know, bamboo, but whichever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a bunch of animals that they fall into that category, which, you know, like throughout time, you know, the Western culture didn't have, and I think that's where it comes. A lot of it comes from, like, you know, the Western culture not having experience with these animals, and so they don't think that they're real. Even like in Africa, Hylian gorillas, you know, were thought to be a myth, you know, until, you know, we went into those areas and discovered, oh, okay, yeah, these are actually real, you know,
Yeah.
or even things like the dodo bird, you know, which, you know, is extinct now, but it has been proven that that was an actual animal, you know, at one point.
Yep. It was a silly animal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it, man. I got a bunch of these. ETA's got a couple, so we'll get a fair amount of coverage here. But if you're ever curious to look into it yourself, just Google cryptid. And there's a few websites that are good places to start, like let's say Wikipedia. But even Wikipedia does not have all of them, so it's a good place to start. Plus, the
Yeah.
Wikipedia articles are not necessarily that great. You know, they pretty much come at it where, like, okay, this is all a bunch of bullshit. And it's like, well, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe it's not a bunch of bullshit because, as I just said, some of these end up being real. Which ones? You know, not that many of them. Which ones? Who knows? Only time will tell. All right, I'm going to start off with something that's almost certainly definitely not real unless you live in Iceland, called the Yule Cat from Iceland. This was requested
yeah.
a long time ago by Pac-Man33 on Discord, and I've been itching to fit this into an episode somewhere, but it just hasn't had a place anywhere yet. So now I get to talk about it. So the Yule Cat, less of an actual creature, more on the side of like folklore, but who knows? Maybe it's out there somewhere eating up kids. It's basically a terrifying creature in Iceland that eats children that didn't receive any new clothes on Christmas Eve. Yeah.
I thought it was just a cute little kitty cat.
Well, it's a cute big giant kitty cat that likes to eat people. Iceland has a long history of wool production, and this story goes back centuries. I don't know exactly when it originated, but there's references of it probably as early as the 16 or 1700s. So this one's been around for a long, long time. Now, the wool production, they would make clothing, right? And a lot of the chores to produce wool and wool-like clothes, they were done by the whole household, kind of like on a farm. It wasn't like you just had one person doing stuff. Everybody had to participate. And if one person wasn't lazy, or if one person was lazy, they probably wouldn't get a new piece of clothing that year for Christmas. So to punish these people, the Yule Cat will stalk around and peek into your window, and they'll see that, oh, this kid doesn't have new clothes this year, and they will stalk that child and eat them.
Hey, I mean, that's one way to promote good work ethic in a child, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And it is actually probably the cutest and fluffiest way to die. So there is that. But
I mean, unless you're getting ripped apart by that fluffy animal, I don't know. It's
yeah, it depends.
not very cute.
Some cats like to play with their prey. They don't really eat them right away. They just sort of play with them a little bit and then kill them. And other cats like to, you know, snap that stuff up and just pretty much swallow it whole. So depending on which Yule Cat you get, you might have a quick experience or a shitty experience.
Depends if you get a cool cat or a fussy cat, you know.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not very much of a cat guy myself. I don't mind cats, you know, but I just, like, I've said it before, like, if a cat was big enough to kill you, it probably would, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if it's, I hate to get morbid here, but I've heard tale told that, by people who are like, EMS drivers or whatever, ambulance drivers, when they go to houses where somebody's passed away, the cat will start chowing down on their owner like immediately, Whereas dogs will wait until they're literally starving to death and they have no choice. And then, of course, nature kicks in and then they might start taking a chomp, but they don't want to, you know?
Well, I've talked to people that have responded to those very situations, like out in the desert, somebody's like, passed away in a trailer or something like that, or even a house, whatever. But I've heard stories from, secondhand to me, but firsthand from the person who was telling it to me. They found, a dead bloater is what they call them sometimes, depending on how many days they've been dead.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like they'll have like the face, like the cheeks and like the nose and stuff like that. Sometimes will be munched on, because the cats are, they can't get access to food, or they have to eat something, right? So desperation kicks in. It sucks, but it is what it is. Like I don't necessarily blame them for it. It is what it is. But I feel like, I think dogs, the reason why they don't do that is because like, most cat breeds also, but dog breeds in particular have been, they've been developed, by humans. They've been bred to be a companion to a human,
Well, dogs are people. All right. Dogs are people too.
They can be people too.
Yeah.
Sure.
And most people don't go around eating other people unless they absolutely have to. And that's why dogs
there's
don't.
Been a couple, but
cats, yeah. Cats, they don't eat people. I mean, they do eat people. They aren't, I meant to say cats aren't people, so they do eat people. Edit.
Yeah, they're much more, they seem like cats have much more independent personalities than dogs do,
Yeah.
In general, I guess you could say. Of course, there's dogs out there that have independent personalities, what have you, don't listen to you, don't mind you, but like, it seems like cats are, as far as pets go, they're just, what use have we ever got out of them? Besides like, keeping control of like mice and stuff like that,
That's pretty useful, but they don't get just rodents. They also get lizards, which are beneficial because lizards eat bugs, they'll eat birds, they'll catch all kinds of stuff. So it's not all beneficial. Some of it is.
Mm-hmm.
The rodents are definitely worth getting rid of, but some of the other stuff isn't,
Yeah. I feel like, the gist of my point here, I guess you could say, is like I've come into contact with a lot more asshole cats than I have dogs.
Yeah.
I mean,
although
like,
there is one exception. There's a cat down the street from us. We see it all the time when we go on walks. It's the nicest cat I've ever met. Like, hands down. It is such a sweet cat. But that's the only one I've met like that. There's a grand total of one,
when I came up to visit you last time, we encountered that cat, right? When we were walking to the store?
Yeah, it's on the way to the store, yeah.
Yeah. That cat was cool as shit.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as he sees a person walking up, like by the fence, he just like runs up to the fence and like, oh, pet me.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good kitty. That's the only good kitty I know. Well, Billy's pretty good too. So I know two good kitties. But Billy's a little shit though.
Is he?
Yeah, he'll come up to you all purring and stuff. Then you start petting him, and he's like, happy purr. And then when he's done, he's like, okay, fuck you, I'm done. And then he'll bite you or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Fuck off now.
No warning. Yeah, he's like, okay, I'm done. That was my scratch. Fuck off. Yeah, he's a little shit. I like him anyways, though. He's still a good kitty.
Yeah, he's a good cat.
Even if he has incredibly bad manners. We were sitting earlier, Agent Ether sent me a picture of like a puppy or something. From one of the local shelters that needs to be adopted. So I went on Pet Finder and I was sending her some pictures and we're like, let's get another dog, We're like, okay, let's do it. Oh, I like this one. There's like all these little cute ones, but I don't know if we're going to do it. Cause two dogs is already a lot to take care of. And then once you get a third one in the mix, then it starts becoming chaotic.
Definitely can. Yeah.
And I don't know how vet bills work where you are in your neck of the woods, but they are fucking expensive right here. We had to take.
I don't think it matters where you go. Vet bills are always very expensive.
Yeah, we had to take Toby when we only had him a couple months, and he got a skin infection on his head, probably from scratching himself too much. I don't know. I took him in. The overall vet bill just for a skin infection was like $500. Like $500. You got to be effing kidding me. That's ridiculous. Like, when did it get this expensive? I don't know. Maybe it was always this much. Who knows? But anyways, I always got to take care of my dogs. Some people, they just, they're like, okay, well, maybe he'll get better, maybe he won't. But like I said, my dogs are people dogs, so when they get sick, I take them in if I can. If I can get an appointment. Sometimes you can't even get an appointment. But all right, let's get back to the show. This show is not about my cryptids, it's about other cryptids. So the next one I've got is the ningen. I'm not sure how you pronounce this exactly. It'sNingen. It's a Japanese word. This is a large aquatic creature seen in the sub-Antarctic oceans. It's up to 100 feet long and has arms and legs like a person. It's like a big giant sea monster, apparently. It's whale-like in appearance, and it has an elongated head and body. It has 2 beady eyes and a slit for a mouth. There's sightings that apparently go back to the 1700s by Japanese sailors. Ningen in Japanese, by the way, means human. So they call it that way because it's like a humanoid, right? It's like a humanoid whale. Just picture a whale and a human having a baby. and that's kind of what it looks like. What's that? Boys, haven't you heard that song by Loverboy? But anyways, was it pig and elephant DNA just don't splice? That's their number one hit. But by the way, I showed Asian egg. I sometimes one of my favorite bits from South Park is beefcake. Beefcake. So I don't know. Sometimes I'll just say beefcake, and then Asian egg was like, beefcake. What's that? Because he's only 11 years old, so he hasn't seen the South Park yet. So I showed him just clips of just beefcake where he's doing the weight gainer and stuff.
Are you a 90-pound weakling?
Yeah, I'm 90 pounds. I weigh 90 pounds. Oh, it's so funny. I don't know why that one just gets me. It's so hilarious. But yeah, so I showed that to Asian egg, and he's like, "Am I old enough to watch South Park?" And I was like, "Yeah, you probably are 11. I don't know. I guess that's probably old enough, depending on some episodes." Maybe not the ones crazy. Maybe not the ones with like Mr. Hands trying to see who can stick the biggest thing up their butt. That might not be appropriate. I don't know.
Yeah, the story of what was that episode? The story, like the journey of Tiddlywinks, whatever. He sticks like a gerbil up his ass.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, so that might not be appropriate, but some of them.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I might have to. It's just like goes on like a quest with like medieval music and shit.
Yeah, it's meant to like basically like it's kind of like a Lord of the Rings like story, right?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So some of them are not appropriate, but my favorite episode I think would be appropriate, and that's from the first season, the Halloween episode called Pink Eye, where you remember that one where it starts off with they're embalming a corpse and one of the coroners or morticians, I think, whatever you call them, that's embalming it, they're like eating something like French fries with Worcestershire sauce, and like, why do you eat that crap? It's like, oh, it's just so good. And they accidentally tip the bottle of Worcestershire sauce into the embalming fluid, and then it shows a close-up of the bottle, and it says, "Warning, do not use as embalming fluid." like who the fuck is using Worcestershire sauce as embalming fluid?
Like, where the hell did they come up with this?
It's so stupid, but it just, I don't know, I find it hilarious. So then everybody becomes a zombie, of course. It's a really good episode. I love that one. That's my favorite one. Anyways, let's get back to the kaiju. I mean, not the kaiju, the ningen. So the ningen are so called because they look like humans. They're usually seen at night, and because the sightings are in the Arctic, it's believed by some that they hide under the ice most of the time. Because I think the water goes under the ice quite a bit in some places, so they could just live under there, and they could only come out under certain circumstances, which would explain why they're almost never seen. The first modern sighting was in the early 2000s when a research vessel saw what they first thought was a submarine, but when they got closer, or when it got closer to them, they realized that it was alive and it was moving around like an actual sea creature. The cool thing about this particular one is there are some pretty good photographs online, photographs and videos of them moving around and videos of divers seeing an object that kind of looks like one of these things. Now, a couple of them, maybe more than a couple of them, definitely look a little fake, a little on the fake side, but it's still fun to suspend disbelief and say, what if this is not a digitally enhanced photograph or a CGI movie? What if this is an actual real creature? But there's actually a handful of them that look somewhat compelling that, maybe it's not a photo of a video of an actual like human whale type creature, but maybe it is actually an unknown rare undiscovered species that is, hiding in the depths or underneath ice shelves so we don't see it that often. I mean, it's possible. There are undiscovered species on our planet that we haven't found yet. So maybe this is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in the oceans.
Yeah. Google a picture of this thing and you'll see like there's some of them that look pretty interesting. A lot of them don't, but there are a few of them that you're like, huh, all right, that looks a little bit weird.
So how do you spell it?
It'sNingen. There are some theories. Some people say it might be a beluga whale because there are certain similarities. Like they say that the Ningen is like totally white, like completely white. But
okay, I've seen some of these pictures before.
Yeah. But the beluga whale is
weird...
only in the north and the Ningen is only seen in the south. So that one's unlikely. What were you going to say, Agent ETA?
Oh, I was just saying, it's a weird looking creature. I could see how it might, like a beluga whale, if seen from a weird perspective or what have you, could be mistaken for something else, I guess, because as far as like the color and like the shape of the head of some of these pictures, it kind of looks like a beluga whale,
Yeah, but the big old belugas don't live in the south. They only live in the north, according to the Googly machine. And that's never wrong. So that makes me an expert in beluga whales now.
Yeah.
but that's, who knows? Just because they're not known to live in the south, it's possible. So let's say if you're on an expedition by the Antarctic and if you saw a beluga whale down there, you're like, dude, belugas don't live here, so this must be something different, something completely weird. And you see it during the nighttime when it's hard to see anyways. It's possible that you could see a beluga whale down there that somehow got there. Who knows how it got there, but it's not impossible. So that, I think that is a reasonable explanation that one of them somehow migrated down there and somebody saw it and then they misidentified it for this thing because they freaked out. They're like, whoa, what is that? But there's other explanations are exotic species like some sort of giant manta ray and an aquatic sloth. All right, why not aquatic sloth?
Really?
Yeah, that's one of the theories, I guess. Aliens, of course, because why not? Always got to throw them in the mix, because there's a big giant 100-foot long alien that's going to come here and we're not going to notice it and they're going to go swim around in our southern oceans. Or
it could also be a weather balloon too,
Yeah, weather balloon, yeah. Or a distant relation somehow to the humans, some kind of hominid branch that evolved to live in the water. Or as I said earlier, some kind of kaiju or something. So those are the particular possibilities of this particular one. I really like this one. Is so much fun. I really like this one, because it's just a whale that kind of looks like a person. It's really cool. All right. That's all I have for that one. Do you want to step in here, Agent ETA, with one of your cryptids?
Sure, yeah. All right, so, excuse me. I had to clear my throat there. All right, so the first one I'm going to mention is called the Snallygaster. And I actually kind of like that name. It just sounds silly, It's a Snallygaster. Like, what is that, like a type of booger that comes out of your nose or something? What the hell is that,
Yeah.
But it's so this type of cryptid is referred to commonly as a chimera, and it's referred to by that name because it's like a mashup of different types of animals, I guess you could say. So it's a somewhat of an older cryptid, and it's basically part bird, part reptile. And there's a couple different descriptions of this chimera, and we'll get into it, but like it's been described differently throughout a period of time. There's been a couple different outbreaks of the Snallygaster, and the majority of the area that this thing typically is said to have been experienced or witnessed was in around Maryland, and so it's northeast United States, and the cryptid in question here was first described by like German immigrants that came to the United States, and that's where the origin of this story comes from. So in the area of like Frederick County in Maryland, um, it's an area that like there was a lot of like early German immigrants, and some of the earliest tales that we have of this creature was around like the 1730s. And originally, from these German immigrants, the original name was actually Schneidergast. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not, but it's something like Schneidergast. But like
Sounds close enough.
you know,
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
it's something like that. So, at any rate, in translation into from German to English, what that means is quick ghost. So, this cryptid was described as being a flying cryptid. It was half bird, half reptilian type creature, and it also was just described as having like a metallic beak that was like razor sharp that had like teeth. You know what I mean? Which to me is it kind of, I don't know, like have you ever seen a bird that has teeth? Like I don't.
No, I have not.
There might be some out there. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. It's possible, right? But like to me, if you have a beak, like you probably don't have teeth. You might have some like I don't know, some teeth of like, but it's part of the beak though. I've seen birds out there like that. They have like serrated like beaks, I guess you could say. So this creature was like described as being quite the terrifying creature. It was a monster. You know what I mean? And this thing also. So we'll get into another description of the creature. It was also described as having like tentacles coming out of its mouth. Like people didn't know whether it was like a tentacle or like a tongue or whatever. There was multiple of them, and they're like it's a very weird looking creature. I mean, if you look it up on like Google Images or anything, it's kind of like there's a lot of different incarnations of this cryptid. So I don't know which one is the one I would if I were to believe this story. I don't know which one would be the right one to believe, I guess. But there's a lot of different incarnations of it. But yeah, it had razor sharp teeth. It was said to have like been capable of swooping down from above and being very quiet and basically just picking people up off the ground and carrying them off to their demise. You know what I mean? It was also described as being like a bloodsucker. Like it wouldn't this cryptid wouldn't like eat the whole body. Like there has been descriptions of that happening also. Like this one is kind of like it's a little bit all over the place as far as the descriptions you'll hear about it. But the more common description as far as the way it feeds, I've heard that it's like a bloodsucker. Like it'll like basically like rip your neck open and like suck all the blood out. Which is kind of terrifying. But like the Snallygaster though, and like with his octopus like tentacles, would rip your throat open, and suck all your blood out and stuff. And it's kind of funny too, because like one of the ways that some of the people in this area said that they could keep the creature at bay was putting a 7-pointed star like on the side of their house or the side of their barn. And I've actually seen that before. Like when I started looking into this and stuff, like I've seen like pictures of like barns and stuff in this area, or throughout the country, really. But like in this particular area, like once I saw some of these depictions of these barns with the 7-pointed stars to keep the Snallygaster at bay, I was like, I recognize that. I've seen that before, and I didn't even like when I saw it before, like I had no idea that that's what the intent of that was. That's what the reason why those were there on the side of barns and stuff. I didn't even know, but like once I figured it out, like, or once I saw it, it was described to me, I was like, oh shit, okay, though. Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense, I suppose. But at any rate, like the Snallygaster is one of those creatures that has actually like been a pretty important creature, cryptid in United States history. I mean, there was even a time where okay, so at I think it was 1909 where the Smithsonian Institute actually offered a reward for the hide of this creature. It was like it was so popular, and like there's so many people talking about it that like they actually said, okay, if this is a thing, then we're going to offer a reward for the hide of this creature. And even the United States President Theodore Roosevelt was actually interested in hunting this creature. Like I find that kind of wild.
Yeah,
like,
of course he was.
He was an avid hunter, and he was he was known for that kind of thing.
I mean, imagine that as a Jeopardy question or something, like this US president, how do they do it? They always give you the answer. I don't know, maybe not Jeopardy, but I mean, of course, if you're going to ask somebody which US president wanted to hunt the Snallygaster, of course it's Teddy Roosevelt. Of course it is.
Yeah. If there's any out there, it would be him for sure. I mean, he was legendary for going on hunting missions and stuff, and going on African safaris and stuff. And actually, there was an African safari that he was supposed to have gone. Well, he did go on, but he was considering canceling it. To go instead hunt for the Snallygaster.
Yeah. But, man, well, how nice would it be to be that wealthy to where you're like, what do I want to do this weekend? Do I want to go to Africa and hunt some lions, or do I want to go hunt some Snallygasters? Like, Snallygaster. I've already hunted lions. Let's do the Snallygaster this weekend,
Yeah. So, I mean, this cryptid was one of those ones that was very sensational. It captivated the public. A lot of people were at certain times, were very concerned about this creature, that they believed it. A lot of people did. And that's why they started putting, like I said, 7-point stars on the side of their barns and stuff to ward the cryptid away, And it's to me, it's like I said, not just the name. I find the name very funny, Snallygaster.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's just a funny name in particular.
Well, if you're gonna try to scare me with something, it needs to not have a name that sounds like it came out of a Dr. Seuss book. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. It does. Like that does sound like it definitely came out of a Dr. Seuss book.
I could be standing in front of it and it could be literally ripping my throat out, and I would probably still be laughing at it. I'd be like, haha, you're a fucking Snallygaster. What a bitch.
Yeah.
I'm
not going to take you seriously. What are you talking about?
Even while it's killing me,
Yeah. The first time I ever was aware of this name or this cryptid was actually playing Fallout, like I think we mentioned before. And the character, the monster in that game, like doesn't look anything like a lot of the descriptions you will hear of like the original descriptions of the Snallygaster.
Yeah,
it looks very different. It's just it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like, I don't know, imagine like a donkey, but it has no fur. Instead, its skin kind of looks like Freddy Krueger's skin, and then it has a really long neck, and then on the top of the neck is like a weird monster head.
Most of its skin kind of looks like a foreskin, but just like more like grayish green, And it looks like what is that, Little Shop of Horrors? You remember that?
Yeah,
the head, that plant in that movie, like that's what the head looks like.
Yeah,
feed me, Seymour.
That's the one downside to the Fallout monsters is they don't generally they don't look anything like the real thing. For example, the Mothman in Fallout 76, it's just a giant moth. It doesn't look like a Mothman. It does not have the juicy glutes that we would expect from the Mothman.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a big giant moth.
Yeah, as far as that game goes, though, I think the Mothman is probably one of the closer representations of a cryptid. It's not spot on by any means, but it's a little bit more closer.
Yeah, and the Flatwoods Monster is basically just like a gray alien, which We did an episode on the Flatwoods Monster a little while back.
Uh-huh.
That would be a really cool boss for some level, like the Flatwood, because it's just such a bizarre thing. But they just did basically a generic alien that you sort of encounter once in a while you're out in the wilds. It's still a pretty cool encounter, but it's not like, I don't know. It's just a typical alien. It's not actually the Flatwoods Monster, even though they're calling it that.
Yeah. It's basically just a generic alien. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was a quick little dive on the Snallygaster.
The Snallygaster. All right. Well, I will continue on. Then I'll do a couple more, and then I'll toss it back to you. Next up, I have the Loveland Frogman of Ohio. The Loveland, the Frogman of Ohio. Yeah. So I actually earlier I texted Agent. What did he go by? My mind is going a blank.
Agent Locke?
Yeah, Agent Locke. There you go. I texted Agent Locke. I'm like, hey, have you ever seen this thing? He's like, no, I've never even heard of that. I was like, yeah, right. He's probably heard of it. He probably knows all about it. He's just playing coy. But speaking of, he's actually going to move in a few days. And once he gets set up, I bet we could convince him to come back on the show. That would be pretty cool. Because
that would be awesome.
Dude, he's got all kinds of stuff. Like, we'll be having a conversation and he'll just bust out with like some really weird conspiracies. I'm like, dude, you have to come on the show. Like, this is the kind of stuff people want to hear about. They want to hear this stuff. He's kind of shy. He doesn't like being in front of an audience, but whatever, dude. We'll probably convince him to come back on. You know, he's got some.
I bet we can.
He's got some really good opinions, and I would love to have him on the show again. We'll see. I mean, he was only on like 1 or 2 episodes, so
I think it was 2. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But anyways, the Loveland Frogman of Ohio. This is a humanoid frog creature that was seen in Claremont County, which is it's on the southern border of Ohio. They stand about 3 to 4 feet tall. The first sighting was in about 1955 by a traveling salesman named Robert Honeycott. He was traveling at about 3:30 a.m. When he was driving, he saw 3 of them on the side of the road. He pulled over and watched them for about 3 minutes. They had gray leathery skin. Their hands and feet were webbed. They had frog-like heads with deep wrinkles where hair should be. He was about to drive away when one of the creatures held a wand-like object above its head. Okay, Toby, I'm going to need my arm back so I can scroll down on my notes here. He's a silly guy. He likes to rest on my arm that I need to use for things. All right, so one of the creatures held a wand above its head, and the wand glowed and sparks came out of the end of it. Robert left when this happened. He probably freaked out, you know. The first thing I thought when reading about this is 1955. Is that long enough after we started doing nuclear shit for a creature to mutate and become bipedal? I mean, maybe. We were doing nuclear shit in the 40s, so maybe that, I mean, you know, maybe it was long enough. I don't know. Maybe it was a nuclear creature. The most famous sighting happened on March 3rd, 1972, witnessed by Officer Ray Shockey. He was driving on Riverside Drive at 1 a.m. in the morning. His headlights illuminated a 3 to 4 foot long animal in the road that he estimated to be 50 to 70 pounds, with, again, leathery skin. It crouched like a frog, but then it stood up before climbing over the guardrail on the side of the road. 2 weeks later, a different officer named Mark Matthews saw a similar animal in the same area. And can you guess what he did?
What?
He shot it.
Oh.
That's what people do. And I just got to say, look, dude, if you guys ever see a cryptid, don't shoot it. Just let it go.
Well, I mean, if it's attacking you, though, I mean, if you have a gun on you, if you have to defend yourself, then all right, I understand that. You know?
Obviously, if it's attacking you, obviously, but this was not attacking. It was running. And what if there's only like 3 of them left and 2 of them are related? So you kill one of them and now you only got 2 siblings left and they have no choice. They can't get it on, man. They just got to go extinct. That's not
No
cool.
bueno.
Don't kill them, man. If you see a rare animal, don't shoot it. Just let it go. Take a picture, maybe. I don't know. Stop shooting cryptids, people. It's not cool. But anyways, he killed it. He put it in his trunk. And then he later showed Officer Shockey, who said, "This was the same animal that I saw." Now, it turns out this animal was a tailless iguana. Okay. Well, I looked, I saw this on one website. I dug a little bit deeper, and it turns out that all of this entire story comes from Officer Mark Matthews, and it appears that he might have invented certain details of the story, such as the existence of the other officer who never has been on record. So this story might be a little suspicious because Officer Mark Matthews, he changed his story several times over the years. And this particular one is a little bit suspicious that maybe it didn't happen. By maybe, I mean probably, but who knows? It's still a good story, right? I don't know. But anyways, that's the Frogman. It's been seen a few times over the years, but it doesn't have a ton of sightings like Bigfoot or something like that. So it's sort of leaned towards the maybe on the side of urban legend rather than something that actually exists, but it's still a fun story. All right, next up, I took a quiz while I was looking for this stuff. I found a quiz. What cryptid are you? You can Google this. You'll find several of them. So I took the quiz, which looked a lot like information, like they were fishing for information to find out, try to figure out my passwords and stuff, which it ain't going to work, guys. I got the best passwords. Nobody's ever going to be able to brute force them. You're not going to be able to social engineer them. My
password's random as fuck.
Yeah, I put a lot of effort into my password, so good luck with that, guys. But anyways, the quiz I took was asking a lot of questions that had nothing to do with cryptids, But anyways, I took the quiz and it said that I was the bunyip. So let's do it. Let's do the bunyip.
The bunyip? What the hell is that? I've never even heard of that.
I know I've heard of it before, but it's pretty obscure. It's not like a Bigfoot or something.
It sounds like a growth on your foot or something.
Yeah, it totally does. Yeah. So the bunyip hails from southeastern Australia. Of course, because if something has a silly name, there's a good chance it's from Australia. It's something about Australian names. They'll come up with these names that are like really cute sounding,
they're fun. They're fun.
Yeah. They'll have like Bunyip has bunny, Bunyip, like bunny-ip. Like, oh, bunyip, bunny. It's like a little bunny. It sounds so cute. And yet it's not. They have these cute names for everything. Oh, it's just.
Well, I feel.
Yeah, go ahead, ETA.
I feel like as far as like a sense of humor goes, like the Australians, like they have one of the best sense of humors.
Oh yeah.
Like there's been plenty of like comedians and just people I've watched like a podcast of they are from Australia and they seem to have like some of the best sense of humors. Like they're pretty fun. Fun people,
Yeah. There's that. Where's that? There's that one stand-up comedian. I saw a couple of his specials on Netflix. I really, really liked, but you can only watch them really late because they are very, very obscene. Oh, what is that guy's name? It's been a while. It's been a minute since I watched his stuff, but he's I don't know. He's probably the most famous guy from most famous comedian from Australia. I don't know. I forgot. I'd have to look it up. But anyways, yeah, really, really hilarious. They got a great sense of humor there. But all right, the bunyip, it lives in swampy areas. And this one's interesting because it goes back to Aboriginal mythology. The name itself.
Oh, were you talking about Jim Jeffries?
Jim Jeffries, that's it. Yes, thank you. Jim Jeffries. Fucking hilarious. Oh man, he's so good.
I mean, he's funny. He's also. Yeah, I won't get into it. He's been a bit of a hypocrite in some of his stuff, but
yeah, it's they're all hit and miss. With
the wokeness,
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
It's they're all hit and miss. Like, I love Bill Burr, but I watched one of his more recent specials that came out in the last year or two, and it was pretty, I don't know. I couldn't get through the whole thing. I just turned it off. It's just like, Democrats do this, but Republicans do this. Oh my God, isn't that funny? I was like, no, this is not funny at all. But I mean, it's all hit and miss. I'm more a fan of his stuff, his earlier stuff, which we'll just describe it as edgy and maybe leave it at that.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, the dude's hilarious, and Jim Jeffries, that dude's hilarious too. That dude has made me laugh for sure. You know? I just like some of the stuff, like, I don't know. Sometimes I just disagree with some of the perspectives, I guess you could say. But the dude is definitely a talented individual. But like, and then it just, I don't know. Sometimes you just like notice certain things, or it's like, all right, well, this has kind of been already worn out. This perspective,
Yeah.
And like, you're just like, I'm tired of hearing this shit,
Yeah. Speaking of talking about all this stuff, this woke stuff, there's one of the shows that I listen to on occasion is called Nerdrotic. He does it's YouTube.
Oh yeah.
YouTube, but he does a version that he basically takes his YouTube stream and puts it on a podcast format. And I'll listen to that.
Is that the guy that used to own like a comic book store? And
yes.
Like, he's like, a lot of the content he does is like related to that, right?
Yeah. And I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but he talks about like stuff like what's going on with like Disney and all this other stuff. And it's like, why would you intentionally make bad stuff? So I'm just sort of more curious as to like what the hell's going on behind the scenes here and stuff. I don't know. It's really interesting. But he also has a podcast where he talks about like conspiracies and stuff, which is also like really, really interesting. So I was like, dude, this guy would be really interesting to have on the show sometime. So I'm thinking about like maybe sending him an email or whatever and trying to schedule something.
Hell yeah.
I mean,
I've seen some of his stuff. Yeah.
Chances are he'll say no, because he's got, his show's a lot bigger. He has apparently about 750,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is way more than I have, like way more.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So, but hey, you never know. It can't hurt to ask, right? So I think it'd be fun to have him on the show and have a conversation about conspiracies and stuff. He's into like some of the ancient stuff, like Graham Hancock and that kind of stuff. So,
oh yeah, that's my book right there, baby.
Yeah, if we had him on, probably you and him would probably take over the episode, and I would be on the back burner, which I'm cool with, because if people are having a good conversation, I'm more than happy to just sit back and listen rather than talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But, no, I'm super interested in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you should check his stuff out. They talk about this stuff. I forget what they call it, but he has his episode. So he has his episodes where they complain about like Disney and Marvel and stuff, which is like, all right, same thing over and over again. It's cool, whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine when you're like bored and you're just sort of waiting in line or what. You're not really paying attention to the podcast that much, and they have some good stuff. But I really enjoy his stuff where he talks about conspiracies and whatnot. That's some fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But all right.
Well, speaking of, so let's get back to the Mongolian death worm.
No, the bunyip. Right. Let me finish up the bunyip, and then we'll get to the death worm.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah. We went on this tangent with comedians and stuff. I don't know how we got there, but anyways, so the bunyip, I think I just said it lives in swampy areas, and that it was originally from Aboriginal mythology, and the name translates into devil or evil spirit. So it sounds, the root sounds like it's bunny IP, bunny ip, but it's from a different language that means devil or evil spirit. So it has a completely different connotation in their language, which I forget what their language is called. I should have taken notes on that. Apologies. Anyways, the creature has a dog-like face, a horse-like tail, flippers for hands and feet, tusks, and a crocodile-like head. And it's hard to reconcile all of those features, You could look up artist depictions of it, and there are many of them, and there are varying descriptions. I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. It's an aquatic creature, apparently. The earliest account that we have is in 1818, James Meehan and Hamilton Hume, who were explorers, found large bones in Lake Bathurst in New South Wales. The bones or skeletons seemed similar but not identical to like a manatee or hippopotamus, which probably shouldn't really be in that area. Like, I don't think hippopotamuses are hanging out in New South Wales. Anything's possible, but who knows? There are some more bones found over the years that were suspicious, but it wasn't until 1845 when the Geelong Advertiser had an article about it. That was like a magazine, I guess. The Geelong. Would that be Geelong or Geelong? I don't know. The Geelong Advertiser had an article about it, and they described it, and that's the first use of the name bunyip. And who knows where they got that from. I would love to be able to find that original article, but I just didn't have time for this episode because I'm doing multiple cryptids, so we're not doing a deep dive into any particular one. But that would be really cool to see if they went and interviewed some natives and found out what the dealio is. But they talked about it and they named it in that article, and that's probably where we get the name from. Now let's skip forward a little bit into 1957, where we have a pretty interesting description from somebody who claimed that they saw it. It was a Mr. Stockquiller, Stockqueuler, who said that he saw at least 6 of them on different occasions and made some sketches of it. Here's a quote from him. Amongst the latter drawings, we noticed a likeness of the bunyip, or this is a quote from an article talking about him, not necessarily a quote from him. So amongst the latter drawings, we noticed a likeness of the bunyip, or rather a view of the neck and shoulders of the animal. Mr. Stockquiller informs us that the bunyip is a large freshwater seal having 2 small paddles or fins attached to the shoulders, a long swan-like neck, a head like a dog, and a curious bag hanging under the jaw resembling the pouch of a pelican. The animal is covered with hair, like the platypus, and the color is a glossy black. So that's a little more coherent description. The creature apparently has is a method of operation, which is to lure people into the water and then eat them. My first question upon reading this is, how can a creature that looks like a complete abomination lure anything? You know?
Yeah. Sounds like that creature doesn't even have a great rack or nothing like that. How are you gonna lure me? What are you talking about? Like,
now, a siren lures stuff. Hold on, excuse me. Apologies for the alarm. That's for the cryptids medications. I should have silenced that. But anyways, how does a creature like this lure anything? Like a siren has got like a nice rack and, lures sailors who have been at sea for months and months on end and are probably, pretty excited to see almost anything. But something that looks like this abomination, I don't know. How do they lure stuff? Maybe hypnosis, I guess. I don't know. There's actually quite a lot more on this one, but I wanted to do multiple cryptids for this particular episode, so I didn't go into more depth. But to end this one, I guess there is a horror movie about this creature that I want to see. I did not know that it existed. It is an Australian-made horror movie about the bunyip, and I have to watch it. That is now on my watch list. I have to find out where I can see it, and it will be done.
That name is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I love it.
Bunyip.
All right.
The bunion? No, the bunyip.
the Paul Bunyip. I gotta go give one of my cryptids his nightly medication, or it's twice a day, so it has to be spaced out. So I can't wait on it, unfortunately. But why don't you go ahead and start on your death worm ETA, and then I'll join up in just a minute. I just gotta give him his little medication there.
Are you talking about the cryptid, or are you talking about my death worm?
Is was that your
And
nickname in high
that was,
school? The death
yeah,
worm?
yeah, yeah. When I was in sports and stuff in high school, they called me the death worm.
Yeah. You did hey, he played football and you did not want to meet him on the field. I'll just say that much, you know.
Yeah, that was also my stripper name too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. At any rate,
All
yeah, I'm going to
right.
talk about the Mongolian death worm. And this is it's one of those tales that has been told for a very long time, from what I understand, especially with the people who live in this area in Mongolia. The Mongolian death worm is has been described as being a large intestine worm, but it's also been described as basically something that is kind of similar to like the large sandworm that you've heard probably described in the book or the movie Dune. Not that big though. Nowhere near that big. I mean, it's minuscule compared to the size of that creature, you know. But so it is a sandworm that resides in sand and can also move along like underground and stuff. And it has been described as a creature that typically is around like 2 feet tall or 2 feet tall, 2 feet long, and it's red. It has no feet, has no limbs, and it's like has a mouth, but it's not like commonly described as a mouth that is like a normal mouth that you would think of, So it's like it has like serrated teeth, like in a circular pattern that surrounds the mouth, but it's a worm though. I think it's quite possible that if this is a real creature, it's probably more likely a snake of some sort. You know what I mean? Some kind of reptilian creature, that burrows under the sand and can somehow move somewhat fast under the sand. So this is actually a creature that has been around for a long time in the Mongolian region. This is a story that has been told for many generations. So it resides mostly in the Gobi Desert, which is a very large desert. And there's a lot of nomadic tribes and stuff that will tell you the story of the Mongolian death worm. They have a word for it. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I'm horrible at that kind of stuff, so I'm not even going to try because I know I'm going to mispronounce it. So, as far as the Western culture goes, the attention to this particular beast or cryptid, whatever you want to call it, was actually originally brought to our attention by Roy Chapman Andrews. And he wrote a book in 1926 called On the Trail of Ancient Man. And he had heard because he had gone over to Mongolia and talked to different people and stuff like that, a lot of different nomadic tribes. And he was actually a paleontologist. So he wasn't just like, nobody, you know what I mean? He wasn't just like that, an average everyday person that was just going over there because he was interested in, experiencing the culture, what have you. He actually went over there and he heard all these tales of that, like, quote unquote, monster, right? And there was a lot of officials and people that he actually talked to that said, like, they definitely knew that this creature existed, and a lot of them said they had seen it themselves. They had seen it like attack different animals and stuff, and yeah, it was kind of a crazy story. But like some people say that like what these Mongolian nomadic tribes were describing was actually what's called if I'm pronouncing this correctly, a Tartar samboa. So some people say that like they had a specimen of that samboa and they showed it to some of these nomadic tribes and like, oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, we've seen it before. So I don't know. It's one of those things where it may not have actually been a cryptid. Maybe it was just a misinterpretation of what these people actually witnessed. You know what I mean? So, but it's I don't know. Some of the descriptions of this, Mongolian death worm, some of the things that death worm was supposed to be able to do was basically like, all right, so it was described as like a death worm that was extremely poisonous, and like even just like touching it, like it would kill you. And it was also described to have like certain abilities as well as like being like capable of like creating like electrical fields and like electrocuting you, you know. And even like so when Roy Chapman Andrews wrote his book, he actually that book, The Trail of Ancient Man, he actually interviewed the prime minister of Mongolia at the time, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, to be quite honest. His last name I will attempt. Right? Okay, so it's Dam Bin Bazar. All right, that's his last name. I'm pretty sure I'm somewhat close to it. Maybe not exact.
That's a heck of a last name.
Well, he has like 4 names. Like it's like Jalkhans, Kugat. I'm not gonna try it. I'm not gonna try it, dude. I'm just
Anybody who's listened to this show before knows that we are ace at pronouncing names. We are the best.
Horrible at that shit. Yeah, I know.
If there was an Olympic at pronouncing names, we would win the gold medal. I'll tell you what.
yeah. So at any rate, the Mongolian prime minister actually like himself confirmed like this is a real beast. Like this is a thing that actually is present here in Mongolia, you know. And he described it as being shaped like a sausage, about 2 feet long, has no head or leg, and is poisonous. You know, to the degree where if you merely touch it, like it's instant death. You know, he described it as you know, it lives in the most desolate parts of the Gobi Desert. You know, which I mean, if it was a worm, you would think it would need more moisture. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like maybe it's not a worm, maybe it's a snake. You know,
there are so many sexual references right now. I don't even know where to start. Like my head's about to explode. You're talking about worms. You're talking about spewing forth poison. You're talking about moist.
Well, this creature has even been described as being able to like spew like toxic venom at a distance. Like you don't have to necessarily go up to it and be close to it. It could spit at you. You know. Mm-hmm. Which reminds me of this one time. But anyways,
yeah. Like our female audience just left, all of them, all of the ladies, they're gone. Bye. Sorry, ladies.
But you know, the funny thing about this Mongolian death worm though is there has actually been multiple like different expeditions in Mongolia, like from people from the West as well as from the East, that have actually gone out there and like spent like good money trying to actually like find this death worm. Now they haven't, you know, but like it kind of like makes me it's pretty incredible that like this much effort has been put into this, because like to me it's like one of those things where it's like, all right, well, it seems like it's not like a believable story, you know, but like there was even this guy in was I think in 1990, between 1990 and 1992, Ivan. Here's another one of those things. Macvrel, something. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, but anyways, he launched an expedition in this area, and he even inspired by the book, by the Dune books. He even tried to draw out this creature by putting like on the surface of the desert like a rhythmic thumping. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
The fucking thumper worked in Dune, so why not here?
Yeah.
I love the logic.
Now, it didn't work for him. They found nothing, but they tried.
Yeah, no shit. They probably scared away every animal in a 10-mile radius with that bullshit.
Yeah. I don't know. I just find that hilarious, to be honest. You know, it's
somebody actually went there and spent money and thought that would work.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But yeah, I guess that's the gist of the Mongolian death worm. You know, there's a lot more to be had there in the story. I'm just not getting into too much detail.
Yeah, we don't want to get. We want to do quantity, not quality on this one, because we want to talk about a bunch of these. Dude, there are so many of these things. You could probably do an entire podcast on just cryptids. In fact, there are.
Well, there are.
There are entire podcasts on just cryptids. Yeah, absolutely. So we're not doing a lot of these justice. We're just going over a quick little aperitif, a little, just a little whiff of some of these. All right, next up, let's do one of my personal favorites is the Fresno Nightcrawler. Are you familiar with this one, ETA?
I've heard of it, but I'm not very familiar with it.
Well, we have video. While I describe it, you might want to Google it and watch some of these videos on mute, of course.
I'm familiar with I'm familiar with Fresno. I know that area. I've been there before, so.
Keep it on mute if you don't mind, so that we can, hopefully the audio doesn't intermingle.
So what is it called? What is it called again? The Fresno what?
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah, the Fresno Nightcrawler. Also known as the Fresno Alien. Generally, the witnesses describe this thing as being tall, thin, pale, and not having any arms. It has long legs and a very, very short upper body. When I mean very, very short, imagine...
Looks like a... I'm sorry for the term. It looks like a retarded Gumby.
Yeah. Well, yeah, imagine Gumby if you cut him off at the waist and made him taller and thinner and completely white.
The fuck?
That's what these things... Yeah, that's what these things look like.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Now you see why this is my favorite cryptid.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Hot dog.
This is a good one. There's some cryptids that you're like, oh, that's interesting. That might actually be real. And there's some cryptids it gives you a really good laugh. You're just like, all right, that's fun. I'm really glad I saw that. That was fucking hilarious.
It's kind of crazy because their legs, like the picture that I'm looking at right now, the legs look like twisted nipples at the very, very bottom. It's like, that's not functional. What the hell? Like,
that's a detail I did not notice myself, but I don't know, man. I had to notice it, I was looking more towards the crotch area to see if I could identify a gender.
Oh, you would.
Is it packing? Is it, is it got some sort of prosthetic under there, or is it, is it a lady with a camel toe, or what's going on there, man? What is this thing?
Yeah.
How do they give birth?
I don't know. It's a bag of sand split into two pieces with some googly eyes attached to the top, but it also is kind of phallic in nature.
How dare you? This is real. There's no googly eyes.
This doesn't look real fucking all, dude. What are you talking about, man? This is obviously a hoax. Like, all right. Like, no. I find it funny.
I disagree. I disagree, sir. This is absolutely real. So
okay,
let's talk about the story, man.
Let's get into the story then.
Maybe I'll turn you around on this one.
It's possible.
So the first sighting was from a gentleman named Jose in Fresno, California, who caught the creatures on his surveillance camera, which was looking over his front lawn. He heard a dog barking, and he went to look at his CCTV, his closed circuit television security cameras, and he saw two night crawlers walking across his front yard. They left some small footprints in the lawn that he discovered the next day, but unfortunately, by the time investigators went to look at them, which it just blows my mind that investigators actually went.
I was going to say, wait, there's actual investigators? Like, are you talking about law enforcement or like?
It blows my mind that investigators actually went to look at these.
What kind of investigators are we talking about here?
I know, right? So the investigators showed up, and unfortunately, the footprints had been washed away by the rain. The original footage is unfortunately also lost. The only thing we do have is a bad quality recording of the security camera screen, which is kind of grainy and sort of hard to see. Gee, I wonder why they did that.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows, But there was another sighting on this thing, which was from a couple driving on Mount Carmel, no, on Carmel Road on December 12th of 2014. They were driving, and as they were driving over a hill, they saw a 7-foot tall, slim gray creature. One of the witnesses said that there was a perfect circle of green on their lawn, like not on their lawn, but like on their land, I guess they had a property with like a lot of land, and on that land, I should rephrase that, but whatever. So on the land, there was a perfect circle of green that was always green, no matter what, like year round, and they somehow associate this with the creature. I don't know if the association is that perhaps this is where their UFO landed, and somehow that made the grass green. It never goes brown, even when it's dry out, when it doesn't rain. And the assumption is here that they don't have sprinklers that are in a circle and pointing inwards. I don't know. That's a weird one. I don't know what to make of that. But anyways, here's a quote. On Friday night, we were driving home. After turning onto Carmel Road, which leads to our road, we went around the curve by the Carmel Church and then up a small incline, and approximately 10 feet over the incline and in front of our truck, the alien ran across the road and into the woods. There have actually been a handful of other sightings of this creature in that area, and it's also called the Carmel Area Creature. Pretty creative name there. And people think it's an alien. There's also a sighting of the creature in Yosemite, where it was captured on security camera yet again. You can find that online. And there's another one that was captured in Poland. You could find that one online as well. There's a video from Poland. And
really?
My only comment on those videos is, go watch those videos if you dare. I dare you to go look at those videos. But looking into this one actually is interesting because it seems like there's a couple of different things here that might not be the same thing. There's one version of this that is very, very obviously a hoax, and then there's another version where you're like, okay, witnesses say they saw something. Maybe they did. Let's say that these people are being genuine and they saw something weird. Who am I to say that they didn't? I don't know. But maybe it's all just a hoax. The reason I like this one. So, go ahead, ETA.
Well, I was just saying, like some cryptids can also be mistaken for other cryptids too.
Right.
Like for example, like the Snallygaster, there has been a little bit of crossover there with like the Jersey Devil, Yeah. So like there are some comparison to be made there, and some people don't know what exactly they witnessed, whether it was the Jersey Devil or the Snallygaster. They're not sure. They don't know what to describe.
Yeah. But there are some people who have seen this thing, and it's not clear to me. Like there's some overlap there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But all right, let's get on to the next one. The Vegetable Man of West Virginia.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. I saw that name, and I was like, all right, I have to do this one.
You're like, yup.
I was like,
yeah.
I'm running out of time to write the notes, but I'm doing this one. I don't have a choice. This one is going to be in the episode no matter what. Even if we go on at 9:00 instead of 8, it's going to happen. I have to talk about the Vegetable Man of West Virginia. And also, okay. I also want to say that West Virginia if you're traveling anywhere in America and you say, okay, I want to travel in America to go see cryptids, West Virginia, that's where this shit's at, dude. They have more cryptids per capita than anywhere else. It's a cryptid hotspot. And,
oh yeah, for sure.
And it's not that big of a state compared to other areas. Like if you want to say there are parts in California that are UFO hotspots, sure, but California is really big. There are parts of Texas that are hotspots. Texas is really big. West Virginia, relatively speaking, is very small compared to, like, let's say California, Alaska, Texas, the big boys. So if you're traveling, you want to get the biggest bang for your buck. Let's say that, you're not wealthy enough to do this whenever you want. You only can do this once in a while. Go to West Virginia, dude. They have so many cryptids there. Your chances of seeing one are possibly better or not.
Yep.
It could be, some people may interpret this as having a local culture that is more willing to receive certain types of, I don't know, you might call them urban legends, something like that.
Yeah.
That's another way of looking at it before you go ahead and waste your hard-earned money on traveling to West Virginia. But there's different ways of looking at this, but either way, there's a fuck ton of cryptids. Damn, dude. Yeah. I can't talk tonight. There's a lot of cryptids in West Virginia. So let's get to the vegetable man of West Virginia. In 1968, Jennings Frederick was hunting woodchucks near Fairmont, West Virginia. Now, I've never been to West Virginia, and I don't know, is this a thing that people...
What's a woodchuck? Is it like a bird or something? Or
well, no. The real question is, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Look at you. You got me. Yeah.
Gotcha. That is the real question, ladies and gentlemen. I actually have no idea what a woodchuck is. I imagine it's something similar to a squirrel, possibly with a little bit more meat if somebody was actually bothering to hunt it. But so anyways, in 1968, Jennings Frederick was hunting woodchucks near Fairmont, West Virginia. He was about to go home. It was getting late. He hadn't caught anything. He was bow hunting, which might explain why he hadn't caught anything, because it's a lot harder to hit something with a bow than it is with a gun. It takes quite a lot more skill. And
it looks like a woodchuck is. I just looked it up on Google. There, it's a groundhog.
Oh, okay.
Basically.
Why would you hunt groundhogs? They're so fucking cute. I don't care how hungry you are. It's a weird thing, I know, but we value cuteness when it comes to humanity. So let's eat stuff that's ugly, like relatively ugly, like cows, and let's leave things that are relatively cute, like woodchucks. Let them be. They're too cute to eat.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna hunt something, if you want it to be presentable, it would rather be cute than ugly.
I guess. Yeah. I guess that's a good point.
It might be a little tastier. I don't know.
And to contradict myself, there are some very cute cows. So there is that. Apparently, I don't know. I'm not one of those people who thinks cows is cute, but that's a thing that's out there. Go ahead and Google it. Google cute cow. I'm actually making this up, but I'm guessing if you Google cute cow, you'll find something.
Well, there's a lot of different tasty cuts of beef. That's for damn sure.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. We just had some top sirloin. Agent Egg is very, very picky, but he likes grilled top sirloin. So when we get a cut of beef, that's usually what we get. Because I was like, all right, he's gonna eat it. He's gonna eat something that's not, complete garbage. So I'll get that because I know he's gonna eat it. But another tangent. All right, fine. Another tangent. When so I go to Costco. I like to go there for gas because it's usually like $1 cheaper a gallon or something.
Yeah,
It's
if you have a Costco membership.
yeah, it's nice. You save some money, and they also there's like what is the rating? There's some kind of gas rating where it's like a certification that the gasoline is like certified to be clean and whatever.
It's of
So
a certain quality. Yeah.
yeah, it's good quality gas apparently, and it's cheap. So I go there, and I was like, well, it's like a 10-minute drive from where I live. So while I'm there, I usually pick up a bunch of other stuff. And the thing about Costco is that they have prime beef. Usually, not
Uh-huh.
always, but usually. So I don't know exactly what that means, but there's different ratings of beef. There's prime, which you cannot find prime beef in the grocery store. There's prime, there's choice. Usually choice is the best quality that you can find in the grocery store. And then there's stuff under that, which I'm not sure what the ratings are under that, but if you're going to buy a steak to grill, it's either going to be prime or choice. And
Yeah.
prime choice, you can get a couple of choice steaks for $10, $20, whatever. It's not that bad. Prime steaks are fucking expensive. Even at Costco, it might cost 40 to $50 depending on what cut you're getting for
Yeah.
2 or 3 prime steaks. They're really expensive. But
Yeah.
I was very surprised. I bought them once on a whim. I was like, all right, are they really that much better? And I thought to myself, there's no way. But I was feeling sort of, adventurous. So I bought them. I was like, I've never had a prime steak in my life. I'm going to splurge and get a prime steak from Costco. So I bought some prime steaks. And dude, there is a big difference between prime and choice. I will tell you that much. Big difference.
Well, it depends on where you're looking at. Like what kind of steak do you like? Do you like a lot of like fat striation within the steak? But like it depends on, like I said, how like what you're looking for. Like you can get a lean steak, and then to me, like it depends on how you cook it, how you prepare it. So you can get a steak that isn't necessarily the best grade of steak or whatever. You can still make it into a masterpiece. You just have to prepare it right and cook it right.
Yeah, the
Like,
main difference for me is that when I cook a choice piece of meat, it's a lot tougher. It's harder to chew. It turns into basically like beef bubble gum, where you're like, oh, I don't know if I
Okay.
want to spend the effort to chew this bullshit. Whereas like
Yeah.
the prime cuts, they're juicy, they're more flavorful. They're
Yeah.
really fucking. I was really surprised.
They are better.
So
Yeah, they definitely are better, but like it's one of
Yeah.
those things where like my typical method of cooking a steak, any steak, is I marinate it for, a day or so, cook, keep it in the refrigerator, in the marinade. Then when I pull it out, I'll take it out, wash it off, and then put some dry rub on it and let it come to somewhere close to room temperature, and then my preferred method, and I ran out of this, by the way, but I ordered some beef tallow, some Wagyu tallow from Japan. Yeah, I was getting super fancy with this shit.
oh
And
shit.
so like I smoked that beef tallow while I was smoking some ribs, and I put it above the ribs, so it wouldn't get any of the drippings of the ribs, because you don't want to mix pork with meat or with beef.
I've read,
Like,
dude. I've read in Japan they get serious about this stuff, like really serious about this stuff.
they get super serious
Yeah.
for sure.
But wait,
and there's
wait, hold. Let me stop you there. Can we talk about this in like the after hours? Because
Yeah. We're getting off on a wild tangent here.
this is a very long tangent, and we are
Yeah.
already over time here. So let's finish up and then maybe continue this conversation in after hours.
For sure.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt there, but it's getting late. All right. So let's get back to the vegetable man of West Virginia. Which I do have more stuff to say about beef. We'll talk about that later maybe. But anyways,
Yeah.
so Jennings Frederick, again, he was hunting woodchucks, which sent us on this wild tangent near Fairmount, West Virginia. He was about to go home when he heard a strange sound. He heard a high-pitched jabbering, much like that of a recording running at an exaggerated speed. And that's a quote. Here's another quote that he said. Suddenly, there it was, a being with semi-human facial features, long ears, and a yellow slanted eyes. Not and yellow slanted eyes. Its arms were no bigger around than a quarter. Its body resembled the stalk of a plant in shape and color, for it was slender and green. It had 7-inch long fingers that ended with suction cups, out of which thorns came. Wait. Actually, no, that was not a quote.
What?
The quote ended at, for it was slender and green. And then the part where it says, where I actually put that on there, it had 7-inch long fingers. This is sort of a summary of what he said. It had 7-inch long fingers that ended with like a suction cup. And then out of the suction cup, you had like thorns. So there's a drawing, like a sketch that he made. And think of like a flower, kind of like I don't know, like a tulip or something. And there's sort of like a thorn coming out of it. I don't know. It's really weird.
That's a weird description because like if you like as far as like functionality goes, like why would you have suction cups if you have like those thorny protrusions? You know, like
well,
that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No, we'll get to that, ETA. We will get to that. There is a purpose. So the creature spoke and it said, "You need not fear me. I wish to communicate. I come as a friend. We know of you all. I come in peace. I wish medical assistance. I need your help." It didn't wait for any sort of response. But instead of waiting, it just immediately grabbed his hand and penetrated his skin with the thorn-like fingers, and the suction cups went flush with his skin, and it started sucking out his blood from his hand. Started sucking out blood from his hand.
Wrist?
It said hand. It didn't say wrist, but okay.
Huh.
All right. This guy likes this cryptid likes to get freaky, I guess. Red streaks started to crawl across the creature's eyes, and then they started to form like swirling patterns that hypnotized Frederick. At first, it was very painful, but once he started looking into these swirling patterns, he became hypnotized, and the pain went away. This went on for some time. How long, I don't know, but he didn't die, so it was a limited amount of blood, not all of it. And when the creature was done, it turned around, left, and ran off and went up a steep hill and disappeared over the hill. And after it went away, Frederick came to. He ran away himself. As he was running away to go back home, he heard a humming sound that he thought was the sound of a UFO. So I really like the title of it, but I gotta be honest, it sounds like a made-up story. In particular, the one damning piece of evidence is that the number of witnesses we have for this particular cryptid is, drumroll please, 1. We don't have multiple witnesses. We just have one witness. So it's a fun story, but it's probably just a story that this guy came up with. I imagine he was out there hunting, looking for some sort of juicy animal to kill and take home for dinner.
He instead found himself upon some juicy mushrooms and then had quite the experience.
Or maybe he was just a fan of science fiction. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Yeah. But definitely sounds like a made up story. It sounds a little too fantastic, but who knows? Anything's possible. All right. I have one more cryptid that I definitely wanted to talk about. And this one is spelled ASWAG. And the reason I wanted to do this cryptid is, I'll admit it, it's a little juvenile, but it's because the name of this cryptid sounds like you might say Aswang, or you might say Aswang. Aswang, Aswang, tomato,
Okay.
you know what I mean? And I saw this one, which I've heard podcasts about this before, and I was like, dude, we have to talk about the Aswang just because it's called the Aswang. But it's actually a really pretty interesting one. So the Aswang is a shape-shifting creature from the Philippines. It's sort of adjacent to like vampires. So the Aswang lives in the village, but at night they turn into an animal. So they shapeshift. They turn into an animal, like let's say a dog or a pig or a cat or something. And then they hunt for unborn fetuses and children, or they also might eat organs like your liver. Like, this is not, I was reading up on this. I was like, dude, this is not a fun cryptid at all. This one's scary. I don't like this one bit. There's 4 main subtypes of the Aswang, which is the Manananagal, which is a woman by day, but at night her torso detaches, she grows bat wings, and then flies around and does vampire shit. The next one is called the Tik-Tik, which is a giant humanoid that is under the control of witches. It makes a loud sound, which is where the name comes from, the tick-tick sound, and the further away it is, the louder it is. This confuses the victims because as it gets closer, it becomes quieter. My first thought was, okay, mathematically speaking, the further away it gets, the louder it gets. So if this thing is in the Philippines and I'm sitting here in my living room, it should be so loud that it shakes apart my house. So the math is it's not a pure one-to-one kind of a deal here. There must be some kind of curve going on to the math with this particular one. That's, I don't know.
Just in the math, right?
Yeah, no. My brain goes to weird places. We're talking about a cryptid, a giant human that eats livers, and I'm thinking about, okay, but if you're further away, it gets louder. How come I can't hear it? Because I'm really, really far from the Philippines,
Yeah, right.
Little too literal there.
Yeah.
And the next one is the Busaw, Busaw. It looks like people, but they live in cemeteries and they like fresh corpses. They like things like, car crashes. I guess they'll go away from the cemetery and find a car crash or whatever. They'll eat the corpse, that kind of a thing. They when somebody's being buried, they might dig them up, stuff like that. The next one is the Bubu, Bubbuu, which has bloodshot eyes, and it makes the sound of a laying hen at night, which I have no idea what that is, but I imagine a hen that lays an egg at night. It's gonna wake up, right? It's fast asleep. Imagine you're a hen, and you're fast asleep, and you wake up, and you're laying an egg out of nowhere.
Let me just guess. It's something to the something similar to like laying a big old fucking like acorn shit, like a pine cone. You're just like you're gonna wake up. You're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, fuck, hot.
So, That's what the boo boo sounds like. Apparently. So those are the four major types. And it goes back, this one goes back a lot, many hundreds and hundreds of years. This is not a new cryptid. It's been there a long time. But the interesting thing about this one is there's not like a single description. Like if you look at Bigfoot sightings in the Pacific Northwest, they're pretty uniform. But if you look at sightings of this cryptid, of the asswang, there's a lot of them. There's quite the variety of them around. There's many different kinds of asswangs, as you might expect.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
But they're usually female, and usually they kill and eat some part of their victims. It might be their blood. It might be their organs. It might be their unborn fetuses, and they might use a tube or proboscis to like get into the stomach of a pregnant woman to eat the unborn baby. And it's like this stuff. It's like, dude,
that's nasty.
I was having fun with this, but like, dude, this just got really dark, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like, ooh, I don't know if I'm having fun with this one anymore, you know? Like, I don't know, Rick, you know?
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I don't know, Rick.
Yeah. This one got a lot less fun when you start talking about eating dead babies or living, even worse, living babies. I don't know, man. This one got really, but anyway, so there is apparently a way to tell it apart from humans, because remember, it's a shape changer and it lives among you until night falls, and then it starts eating people or babies or whatever it's, depending on the type of aswang. Aswang.
I'm sorry, man. I just can't help but laugh. Like,
yeah.
It's a ridiculous name.
He really is. That's probably not how you really pronounce it, to be fair.
Like asswang, like that's what I like. That's when I have like bad bowel movements after eating too much Chinese food. You know.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah. And that I'm going to pretend that that's not racist in any way, shape, or form. You know.
Well, hey, you got to be well balanced
because
you're
not
diet,
talking.
Right?
You're not talking about Chinese people. You're talking about Chinese food, right?
Yeah, well, and like obviously Chinese food when you're in America, it's a different thing than actual Chinese food. It's not the same thing, of course. It's when I eat Chinese food, it's a lot of it is fried rice or steamed rice in General Tso's chicken and like Mongolian beef and stuff like that. Right? It's not very healthy, Yeah. And if you eat too much of that shit, consecutively, like too many days in a row, you're either gonna have a bad bowel movement, or you're gonna have you're gonna have like some congestion there. It's not gonna be good for you.
Yeah.
You gotta mix up your diet. You can't eat one type of thing too often, right? You have to mix it up. Be healthy about it.
I actually have no idea what actual Chinese food is like. Yeah, my closest idea that I'm aware of is like orange chicken. Do they even really eat that in China? I don't know.
Probably not.
Yeah. It's yummy. It tastes good, but do they actually eat that? I can't imagine they eat that on a regular basis, because you would only live to 35 if you ate that fucking garbage every day,
Yeah. Well, I don't know that, you know what? I'm a testament to that, because I'm 39, about to hit 40 here, and I've eaten a lot of that kind of food, and I feel like I've overcome those limits,
You've adapted and overcome.
Yeah.
And now you can eat anything.
Yeah. I have mastered my cuisine.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get back to how do we even start talking about Chinese food? I don't know. Maybe I should edit all the bullshit out.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I don't fucking know. Maybe that's for the after hours.
Yeah. But
Like, give me 1 minute. I'm gonna go grab a couple beers here because I need a beer or two here now.
All right. Yeah,
Even though I've already drank a couple beers, but
that might be the
I need a
problem
couple
with
more.
this particular episode is I am a little more inebriated than normal. I went and got usually I'll have a beer or two, no big deal, but I went and got a pre-bottled. I was at the store and I saw across from the beers, I saw a bottle of Monkey Shoulder Lazy Old Fashioned, and I thought, Monkey Shoulder, well, that fits in perfectly with our cryptid episode, I guess. I don't know. And it's an old-fashioned cocktail made with blended malt Scotch whiskey and bitters. So
What?
it's like 35% alcohol, and I'm drinking it like it's beer. So
That's a lot, dude. That's a beer?
No, it's like comes in a bottle. I just poured it into a glass, and I've been drinking it like a beer. And I'm a little more inebriated than normal, so you may notice that.
As far as a beer goes, a 35% is epic. Like that's crazy.
No,
what
beer.
What is this called?
No, it's not a beer. You can't get beer to that. Beer stops at like if you're brewing an actual beer.
Like 13% is like some of the highest I've seen.
13 to 14% is as high as you can get because that's when the yeast starts to die. But you cannot brew. It's not possible to brew beer. If you want to get higher than 13 or 14%, then you have to distill it in one form or another. But no, I was saying that across from the beers, I went to Safeway. Fuck Safeway, man. I hate them so much. They're so expensive. Dude, they're just like, oh, okay, you ready to check out? Okay, bend over. Here you go. They're absurd. If you go to a different grocery store, you can get something at a fraction of the cost, except their alcohol is really, really reasonably priced. So
really,
if you live in Santa Rosa and you live on my neighborhood and you want cheap alcohol, go to Santa Rosa or go to Safeway, which I'm not gonna. I don't like. It's not that I care that much. If somebody knows where I live, if you show up at my front door, I'll be like, hey, you listen to the show? Fuck yeah, come on in and have a beer or whatever, but there have been a handful of strange interactions. Like we had one person who kept messaging us, like DMing us on Twitter saying, so anybody not familiar, if this is your first time listening, I'm married to Asian Ether. She is my wife. We have been married for a very long time now. But so somebody sent me private messages like to me, not to Ether, but to me, sent me private message. Hey, can you send me a picture of Ether? I want to see Ether. Hey, send me a picture. I was like, do you really think
a little bit creepy?
I'm going to send pictures of my wife to some random stranger? Like, what planet are you on, sir? Like, I don't know. So there's been probably like 3 or 4 things in this ballpark where I'm like, maybe I don't want my information being totally public. Most people, like 99.9% of the people that listen to the show are like totally cool. I would love to meet them in real life, have a beer with them, whatever, hang out. It'd be great. I would love to hang out with them.
Yeah.
But there are a few outliers where I'm like, that person seems like they might do something dangerous, So
yeah.
Anyways, long story short, if you live in my neighborhood and you want cheap alcohol, go to the Safeway.
Well, and also one thing like I would love to do is like go to some of these like alien conventions and like meet some of the people that hopefully, meet some people that listen to us. That'd be cool. If not, just like-minded individuals that, are into the same things that we're into, and like that would be a very enjoyable thing to experience. I think, like it would be great. Like they don't have to be fans of the show, whatever, and I don't expect them to be, but like that would be a great fucking thing to experience. Just to speak with like-minded individuals or into the same thing. Like I said.
Yeah, there's one coming up, and I think it's in like a week or two. It's early June sometime. I'd have to look it up. It's called Contact in the Desert, and it's in
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
this. They have it in various places, but this time they're having it in the Palm Springs area. It's not in Palm Springs, but it's like a little bit outside of Palm Springs. Used to be a much smaller area, but it's become like this big suburban sprawl. So it's much bigger than it used to be.
Well, there's a lot more people moving out into the desert there to escape like the big city and stuff. Like
Yeah.
people are trying to kind of escape California, but going out into the desert, but they're not going far enough.
Well,
like
it's always been sort of a retirement area, but
yeah.
as housing costs have gone completely out of control, Palm Springs has changed over the years. And
that's a big reason why people have been going out there, is because as far as like California is concerned, the more east you go, especially out into the desert and stuff, where you have less like a job opportunity, even if you already have a job that you can travel to, what have you.
Yeah.
The housing cost is just less expensive, and it's the same reason why I moved out of California, because I could just afford a house. Like I was looking around in different areas, and it just wasn't affordable. It wasn't what I was looking for. And so I moved to Arizona. Luckily, I did before housing prices really kind of shot up at a certain point. And I'm happy I made that move before it was less beneficial.
Well, I don't want to talk numbers because but I mean, I remember you told me how much you paid for your house, and I gotta admit, I'm a little bit jelly. Because
it's not a big house. It's a small house.
It's big enough. It's big enough.
Yeah.
Because you don't have kids.
Yeah.
So
I was definitely lucky that I made that decision before prices shot up. Like I said,
and it's like a really good lot. It's like up a little bit of a hill, it's got like a little bit of a view, and it's a really good location. It's a really nice house.
Well, it's got a great view of the lake. I mean, it's
not a mansion, but it's a pretty nice place for what it is, but anyways, let's get back to the episode. This should be after hours, man. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah.
We're almost done here with this last cryptid here. So, we were talking about the ass wang, and we're talking about how can you tell if somebody in your village is an ass wang. So the telltale signs are.
I kind of feel like there's a couple of women that I grew up with that should have deserved that nickname. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. I mean, hey.
Well, where we grew up, dude. There was a lot of Asian people in that area, and I had no problem with it at all, because I'm a big fan of Asian women. It's not.
Everybody's into something. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So I remember
there's a couple different ass wings in that area.
Should I cut that out? Is that offensive?
I don't know.
I don't know. I can't even tell anymore, dude. I can't even tell. If that was offensive, I apologize to anybody offended, because I can't tell. Is it funny? Is it offensive? Who knows? At this point, it's anybody's guess.
Yeah, my bad.
But yeah, we grew up in Diamond Bar, which is on the border of Orange County and LA County. It's in LA County. And it's where the 57 and 60 freeways meet, if you're looking for it on a map. And I remember seeing in the student newspaper once, they said that the student population was something like 37.9% white and 37.7% Asian or whatever, but it was nearly identical. That was kind of the cool thing about going to the high school, is that it was a very, very racially diverse area with a ton of immigrants. There was incredibly diverse.
That was when you graduated. And what year did you graduate high school?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, so I graduated in 2001.
Yeah.
And from what I read, in 2001, in that high school, when I graduated, the Asian population was 46%.
Wow. So it went up, huh?
It definitely went up. Yeah. So, and like I said, I had no problem with that. Like I definitely, I had a bunch of friends, like over half of my friends were Asian, my good friends, these are people that I still talk to this day. You know what I mean? So like, it was like, obviously like the women, that you're interested in, like it's a percentage thing, right? Like you can't help, but like this is just what is available to you, like it's, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a, yeah, whatever.
I
Get back to
remember,
the cryptid stuff.
I remember when I first went early on in my community college career, I was in a voice class, learn how to sing kind of a thing, and the instructor, the professor was like, all right, there's an opera going on in Los Angeles and they're looking for extras that are minorities. And I was like, okay, I'll take a flyer or whatever. And she's like, dude, you're not a minority. I'm like, yes, I am. She's like, no, you're not.
Yeah,
I'm like, yes, I am.
There's less white people here than anything else. Like, well, not anything else, but
what they were really looking for, which like, she's like, dude, they're not looking for you. Trust me. Which it's like, okay, let's go ahead and call it as we see it. They were not looking for white people. They were looking for Hispanic people. That's what they wanted. but they said minorities. And I've been a minority. I've been part of a minority population literally my entire life, no matter where I've lived, because the majority population literally means more than half, right? And I've always lived in very diverse areas until I moved to Santa Rosa, which is actually the whitest place I've ever lived, and I didn't move here until my 30s. So it's crazy. But anyways, let's get back. Let's all these tangents, man. This is what happens when I drink too much. Let's get back to the ass wang here. So we're talking about how you identify an ass wang when it's trying to hide in your village. There are a few telltale markers. For example, the ass wang has bloodshot eyes. Also, if you look it directly into their eyes, your reflection will be upside down. And if you want to see their true identity, what you can do is you can turn around, turn your back towards them, lean over, and look at them upside down from between your legs.
And then you yell, ass wang.
Yeah, and that will reveal their true identity. And just in case the person you're talking to is not an actual ass wang, you have to say, I promise I'm not smelling my own farts.
Oh, God. Okay.
Because that would be pretty embarrassing if you were, imagine you're talking to somebody and then they turn around and then they look at you, they bend over and look at you through their own legs, and then
it's just imagine that situation.
And then they kind of nod. They nod at you and they go, okay, you're okay. You're all right. You can be my friend. You're like, what the fuck just happened here? And so
if I ever take a vacation to that area, I hope that happens to me.
Yeah, to the Philippines. If I ever go to the Philippines, that's the first fucking thing I'm going to do when I get off the plane. I'm going to say hi to somebody. I'm going to turn around, bend over, point my ass at them and say hello.
That'd be great, dude.
Oh my God. This is too good. All right. Also, what were you gonna say, TA? I think you might have cut out there. But anyways,
I think I did. Yeah.
I
couldn't hear you.
Okay, so also they don't have ass wangs. Don't have the cleft below your nose. So there's a technical term for it, but below your nose, how most people have like that little cleft thing or whatever. That's like that little line under your nose. The ass wangs don't have that. It's completely smooth, which I'm not sure I've ever seen anybody like that. So that would probably stick out. And they might also have backwards facing feet and reverse toenails. Like, like, all right, now we're
this is the most hilarious cryptid I've ever heard of.
Like,
This is
how are you gonna fit in if your feet are pointing backwards? Like, somebody's gonna notice that shit, you know? Like,
yeah.
we're talking about, this goes back hundreds of years. Like, they didn't have TVs and cell phones. Like, nowadays, if we're talking about modern times, you could absolutely get away with having backwards feet because nobody's going to notice. Everybody's looking at their cell phone all the time.
No,
but
you're probably a protected class at
but
that point.
A couple hundred years ago, they're going to look at that and they're going to be like, huh, your feet are pointing backwards. You must be an ass wang. We're going to like kill you or burn you at the stake. I don't know how they even dealt with these. Oh wait, actually I do. It's in my notes further on. 2 sentences later. So they're apparently, the asswangs are susceptible to garlic, salt, holy water, prayers, and a bunch of other stuff that make, basically, if you can identify them, they're really easy to defeat. But their strength lies in being able to blend in with the village. I guess, assuming that your village has a lot of alcoholics or people who like to smell their own farts or whatever. I don't know.
I like to smell my own farts.
Yeah, who doesn't really? You know what I mean?
Your own brand is always the best. You know.
So if you're trying to kill one of these things, you need to decapitate it and destroy its heart, which I find hilarious because that will kill literally anything on the planet. So it's a good way to go if you want to kill something, I suppose.
Yeah, that got kind of serious pretty fast there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like with this one, there's so much about this particular cryptid where I had a lot of fun, but then it gets like real dark real quick. You're like, oh, this is hilarious, but fuck, dude, they eat babies they eat the fucking uterus, like, or they eat babies straight out of the uterus with a proboscis. Like, this isn't funny anymore. This is crazy. It's like, yeah, it's one of those ones, but
yeah,
whatever. But let's finish off the ass wang here. There's apparently a yearly ass wang festival over in the Philippines.
Okay.
I would love to go to to this thing. You could probably find movies about it and whatever. It's a cultural thing, you know. It's a real cultural thing. I didn't see any actual photographs or anything like that, but there's yeah. It's
one of the things. It's one of the things for like that term ass wang. Is that like a ladyboy tucking? You mean?
Well, we're gonna have to wait to after hours to talk about anything like that. So, all right. So that's the last one I had. That's all we got for you this week. If you want to hear me and ETA talking about lady boys, I guess that's the compelling premium content that people want to hear. You're going to have to subscribe to us on Patreon to hear that in the after hours. But all right, that's all we got for you this week. We appreciate you listening. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you, and catch you next time. Could I get a keep it strange?